The sky over Earth was a dull gray, streaked with the smoke of burning cities. 7 million lives had been lost in a single, merciless strike by the Krill. Entire metropolises lay in ruins, and the survivors walked through the streets as if moving through a graveyard. Humanity had faced extinction, and yet the survivors refused to surrender. Captain Myra Talon stood on a shattered rooftop, overlooking the city she once called home. Her uniform was torn, her hands scratched and bloodied, but her eyes burned with determination. She had seen horrors that no human should witness: families vaporized in seconds, children torn from their parents, and buildings turned to rubble in alien firestorms. Yet in all of this, she felt something powerful, a spark that would not die. "Another day, another mess," muttered Elias Grant, adjusting the strap of his makeshift backpack. The scientist's glasses were cracked and his lab coat was blackened with soot. "We're barely surviving, Myra. How do we fight back when half the planet is gone?" Myra turned to him, her face stern but calm. "Because surviving is not enough. We cannot hide forever. They think they won. They think Earth is finished. They are wrong." The Krill had been efficient, brutal, and precise. They struck without warning, leaving devastation in their wake. But even in the darkest hour, humans had survived in pockets: underground bunkers, abandoned factories, and the remnants of old military facilities. Small communities of survivors had begun to communicate, share resources, and rebuild. Myra's group had stumbled upon one such survivor camp in the outskirts of what used to be New York City. Makeshift shelters lined the empty streets, and survivors scurried like ants, gathering food, water, and supplies. Children played in the ruins, unaware of the full scale of loss, but adults moved with quiet grief, their faces etched with pain. "We need to unite them," Myra said. "We cannot fight as scattered groups. They will pick us off one by one. If we stand together, we have a chance." Elias shook his head. "And how? We are nothing compared to the Krill. They have ships that can crush cities from orbit, weapons that melt steel like paper. We have scavenged scraps." Myra's lips curved into a faint smile. "Scraps can kill a giant if used right." The camp had been attacked before, and everyone knew the Krill could return at any moment. Myra gathered the camp leaders and survivors into a ruined library, its walls still half standing. Dust floated in the air like tiny stars, and the faint smell of ash lingered. "We have been beaten, yes," she began. "But the Krill made one mistake. They thought humans would bow to fear. They thought our spirit could be broken. They are wrong. Every human who lives today carries a fire inside, and fire can burn brighter than any alien weapon." The room was silent, save for the occasional cough or shuffling foot. Myra's voice grew firmer. "We will fight back. We will learn their weaknesses, and we will make them pay for every life they have taken." Among the survivors was a young engineer named Liam Chen, who had salvaged old drones and parts from destroyed factories. "We can build weapons," he said, his voice trembling but determined. "Not like theirs, but clever. We can strike them where it hurts." Dr. Grant nodded in agreement. "It's possible. I've been studying the data from their ships. They are strong, yes, but they rely on certain patterns. If we understand those patterns, we can exploit them." Myra looked at them both and felt hope stir. These were ordinary humans, scarred and scared, but ready to rise. She could feel it, the beginning of something new. Humanity was beaten but not broken. As night fell, the camp gathered around fires. Myra stood at the edge, staring at the darkened skyline. The city was gone, replaced by shadows and smoke, yet she felt something growing in the hearts of the survivors: courage. Suddenly, a scout drone clattered onto the rooftop near Myra. It was small, alien, and unfamiliar, a Krill device clearly damaged. Myra crouched and examined it. "Looks like they sent scouts," she said, "and one of them made a mistake." Elias carefully opened the drone's casing. Wires and circuits glowed faintly. This could help us," he said. "We can study it, reverse engineer it. If we understand how they think, we can fight them smarter. The survivors gathered around, peering at the alien technology with a mix of fear and fascination. Myra addressed them all. "This is our chance. We are small, yes. We are weak, yes, but we are human. And humans," she paused, letting the weight of her words sink in, "never give up." For the first time in weeks, laughter and chatter returned to the camp, not loud, not joyful, but present. It was the sound of hope. In the following days, Myra organized scouting parties. Small teams moved cautiously through the ruins, mapping the city, salvaging supplies, and gathering intelligence. Every day the Krill seemed farther away and yet closer. They were a shadow over humanity, a constant reminder of the massacre. One evening, as Myra watched the sunset bleed through the clouds, she felt a strange calm. The ashes of the old world were still warm, still alive with memory. And in those ashes, she imagined a future where humans were not victims, but hunters. The captured scout revealed more than just technical information. Its behavior suggested intelligence patterns, decision-making routines, and weaknesses in Krill communications. Dr. Grant was ecstatic, working late into the night, often forgetting to eat or sleep. "If we can crack this, we can fight them on our terms," he said, his eyes bright with determination. Myra trained the survivors in stealth, strategy, and basic combat. Old soldiers, young adults, and even children with talent joined the effort. Every human had a role. Every survivor mattered. Weeks passed. Slowly, the survivors rebuilt, not just physically but mentally. Fear remained, but it became sharper, controlled. It became a tool, not a cage. Then came the first sign that the Krill had underestimated humanity. A small supply convoy was ambushed, not by the aliens but by humans. Using the knowledge gleaned from the captured scout, the survivors had crafted traps and diversions. They moved silently, striking with precision. The Krill soldiers were caught off guard. For the first time, humans killed Krill, not just fled from them. The news spread quickly among survivor camps. A spark had ignited. Humans were no longer just running, hiding, or grieving. They were fighting back. Myra looked over the city one last time before leaving for the next mission. The skyline was broken, jagged, and scorched, but beneath it, life persisted. Humanity persisted. She whispered to herself, "They thought we were weak. They thought we were finished. They were wrong. Earth will rise again." And somewhere in the void above, the Krill fleet continued to circle the planet, unaware that the humans they thought destroyed were already planning their revenge. The ashes of humanity were cold, but the fire inside was only beginning. The world was quiet, but the silence was not peace. It was waiting. Humanity had survived the worst, but survival alone was no longer enough. Captain Myra Talon and Dr. Elias Grant had a new goal: to turn despair into power, to make humans a force the Krill could never ignore. The survivors worked tirelessly in hidden bunkers beneath ruined cities. Factories once used for toys or cars now hummed with the sound of resistance. Metal scraps, scavenged electronics, and alien debris were repurposed into weapons, armor, and drones. The young engineer, Liam Chen, led teams of volunteers who soldered circuits, patched engines, and tested crude yet deadly machines. "This will work," Liam said one evening, holding up a small, jagged drone fitted with improvised explosives. "It's small, fast, and smart. The Krill won't even see it coming until it's too late." Dr. Grant leaned over the drone, eyes scanning its systems. "With some modifications, we can use it to target their communication arrays. Without communications, their ships will be blind. Humans can fight blindfolded if they have to, but the Krill, they depend on order." Myra watched them, pride swelling in her chest. These people, beaten and broken, were becoming soldiers of ingenuity. Humans had no superpowers, no overwhelming numbers, yet their minds were sharper than any alien technology. That would be their advantage. The first step was training. Humans had to be ready not just physically but mentally. Myra ran simulations in the bunkers, small groups attacking mock Krill outposts, sneaking through obstacle courses, improvising with every resource available. Every failure was a lesson, every success a spark of hope. The survivors were eager to learn. Old soldiers taught combat, engineers taught mechanics. Even children learned to navigate debris and hide from danger. Humanity was not just surviving anymore, they were preparing to fight. Weeks turned into months. The small resistance force had grown into a coordinated army. Camps across continents sent scouts, technicians, and soldiers to the central hub. Communication lines were established through radio signals, secret messages, and coded drones. Humanity was becoming organized, united by a shared purpose, revenge and survival. One night, as Myra reviewed plans with Dr. Grant, the scientist tapped a series of holographic displays. "The Krill have weaknesses we can exploit," he said. "Their energy shields regenerate slowly after being hit. Their troop movements are predictable in certain sectors, and their drones, they don't adapt quickly. One clever strike can cripple an entire patrol." Myra's eyes narrowed. "Then we don't just fight. We strike where it hurts, hard and fast. No mercy, no hesitation." The first test of humanity's new arsenal came sooner than expected. A Krill scouting party had entered Earth's atmosphere, searching for survivors. They were small, fast, and deadly, but they were not prepared for what awaited them. Liam's drones zipped silently through the night, guided by human operators below. They struck with precision, jamming the Krill's sensors and cutting off communication. Explosions ripped through the sky as the small alien ships faltered. Myra led a team of fighters in a retrofitted hovercraft, striking the alien landing pod directly. Humans stormed the site with a mix of fear and fury, capturing the remaining Krill alive. The aliens, confident in their dominance, had never imagined humans would fight back so effectively. When the dust settled, humanity had won a small but symbolic victory. The survivors celebrated quietly. There was no grand parade, only the quiet thrill of proving they could fight. "This changes everything," Elias said, examining a captured Krill weapon. "If we understand their tech, we can build more effective defenses and more dangerous weapons." Myra nodded. "Then we continue. Every day, every fight, every new tool brings us closer to taking the war to them. We are not hiding anymore. We are hunters now." The Krill noticed quickly. The enemy who had once seemed unbeatable now faced an opponent who adapted, learned, and struck with intelligence. Reports from surviving Krill scouts began to indicate confusion and frustration. The humans were unpredictable. They were dangerous. To strengthen their arsenal further, Dr. Grant proposed a daring idea: reverse engineer Krill ship technology to create human warships. "We don't have the resources of the Krill Empire," he admitted. "But we have something else: brains, imagination, and willpower. We can outthink them." Myra gave the order. Engineers worked day and night, creating hybrid human-alien ships. They were crude by Krill standards, but the humans made up for it with cunning tactics, stealth adaptations, and human intuition. Every design included weaknesses that the Krill could not anticipate. In the meantime, humans were not just building weapons, they were learning to fight together. Strategy councils were held daily. Leaders from every survivor camp brought their knowledge and experience. Together, they devised methods for ambushes, diversions, and large-scale attacks. Humanity was no longer scattered. It was a single, united force. Then came the first large-scale operation. A Krill outpost on the outskirts of a ruined city had become a base for patrols and resource collection. It was small but well guarded. The humans had gathered enough intel from captured drones and scouts to attempt an attack. Myra led the assault personally, alongside Liam, Elias, and a team of hardened survivors. Night cloaked their approach. Drones flew ahead, jamming sensors and creating false signals. Mines and traps had been placed in the streets and alleyways. ready to explode at the perfect moment. The attack was swift and brutal. Humans moved like shadows, striking Krill soldiers with improvised weapons and alien-adapted technology. Explosions lit up the night, but they were precise. Collateral damage was minimal. Civilians and other survivors had been evacuated. By dawn, the outpost was destroyed. Human forces had won without a single major loss. The Krill were stunned. Their patrols now faced an enemy who did not run, who did not fear, who did not hesitate. Back at the central hub, survivors celebrated quietly, but the atmosphere was charged with determination rather than joy. "This is only the beginning," Myra reminded them. "They will strike back harder. They will send more ships, but we are ready. They may have killed millions, but they did not kill the human spirit, and that they cannot destroy." Elias grinned as he studied the captured Krill equipment. "Every victory teaches us something. Every battle makes us stronger. Soon, we will not just defend Earth, we will take the fight to them." Liam's drones buzzed around, repaired and upgraded for the next mission. "We are learning faster than they are. Every mistake they make, we exploit. Every advantage they have, we find a counter. They think humans are weak, but they are wrong." As night fell again over the ruined city, Myra looked at the survivors gathered around the fires. Children played quietly, mimicking soldiers. Adults laughed softly, sharing stories and making plans. Humanity was alive, not just surviving but thriving in its defiance. In the darkness above, Krill scouts observed the planet. Their reports to the main fleet were filled with confusion and growing concern. Humans were striking back. Humans were dangerous. Humans were alive. And somewhere in the shadows, Myra whispered to herself as she had countless times before, "We will not stop. We will not surrender. The Krill will learn the cost of underestimating Earth." The first sparks of humanity's counterattack had ignited. Weapons were built, plans were made, and the survivors were no longer victims. They were soldiers, engineers, and strategists. They were humans, and humans, as the Krill would soon learn, never forget. The fire inside humanity was no longer a flicker, it was a growing blaze. The Krill had massacred millions, but they had not killed the human spirit. And now, that spirit was ready to strike back. The stars above Earth shone cold and distant, yet humanity's eyes were fixed on them. The Krill, once untouchable, now faced humans who had learned, adapted, and grown. Captain Myra Talon stood on the bridge of a refurbished human warship, her hands gripping the console. Below, engineers and soldiers moved in perfect rhythm, a machine of determination forged from desperation. "This is it," Myra said, her voice low but firm. "Every strike we make from now on must count. We are no longer defending. We are hunting. Doctor." Elias Grant joined her, a tablet in hand, displaying enemy positions and movement patterns. "They have patrols here, here, and here," he said, tapping the screen. "We can hit them simultaneously. Their shields regenerate slowly. If we strike the weak points together, we can cripple them all." Myra nodded. "Then we split our forces. Liam, you lead the drone squads to disable communications. I'll take the strike team to hit the supply depots and troop transports. The rest provides support." The human fleet moved like shadows through space, cloaked and silent. Even with their limited numbers, their intelligence and coordination made them deadly. Humans had no illusions. They could not match the Krill in raw firepower, but they could outthink them, outmaneuver them, and exploit every flaw. The first engagement came swiftly. Krill patrol ships, sleek and deadly, approached from orbit. They fired without hesitation, confident that humans could not match them. But the humans had learned their patterns. Drone squads swarmed, jamming sensors and creating false signals. Missiles fired by human ships hit key points with surgical precision. Krill shields flickered, faltered, and finally failed. Myra's strike team boarded a Krill troop transport via boarding pods. The transport exploded in space fire, sending shards of alien metal spinning into the void. Humans fought with a mix of courage and desperation, using alien weapons adapted to their strength. Each krill they faced had once slaughtered human civilians, but now the hunters had become the hunted. Meanwhile, Liam Chen coordinated the drones from the command center. "Strike three now," he shouted. Drones darted between krill ships, disabling shields and taking out communications. Human engineers using alien technology scavenged over months, hacked into the krill networks. The enemy was blind, disoriented, and furious. Back on Earth, survivor communities cheered quietly as transmissions confirmed victories in orbit. The humans had won a small but decisive series of battles. The krill, who had once thought Earth defenseless, now realized the opposite. They faced a cunning, united, and relentless enemy. But victory came with cost. Myra watched as one of her closest soldiers, a veteran named Jara, fell during the boarding. The human team fought bravely, but the loss of life reminded them that every strike carried danger. Elias, working frantically to repair systems, felt the weight of each sacrifice. Yet even in grief, determination burned brighter. Humans could mourn, but they could not stop. The next phase of the campaign targeted the krill supply depots on the outskirts of Earth's atmosphere. The depots were critical. Fuel, weapons, and food kept the krill war machine running. Without them, the enemy would weaken rapidly. Myra led a strike force of stealth ships, moving through asteroid fields to avoid detection. Her team deployed silently, planting explosives and hacking systems. Each detonation crippled the krill's ability to sustain their fleet. One by one, depots fell and the krill scrambled to respond. In one daring move, Elias suggested using a captured krill command ship as bait. "We can lure a krill fleet into a trap," he said, excitement in his voice. "They will think it's an easy target, but we control the battlefield." Myra studied the plan. "Risky," she said, "but it could turn the tide." After a moment, she nodded. "We do it, but we cannot lose more people than we can afford. Precision is everything." The humans executed the plan flawlessly. The krill fleet took the bait and moved into a corridor of human-controlled mines and ambush points. Explosions lit up space, and human warships struck from multiple angles. Krill ships were destroyed or disabled and survivors captured for intelligence. Humanity had won again, not through overwhelming power but through strategy, coordination, and daring. Yet the krill were resilient. Reports indicated they were regrouping, sending reinforcements and adapting to human tactics. Each human victory was met with renewed alien aggression. The stakes were higher, the risks greater, but humans did not falter. On the ground, guerrilla teams struck krill supply convoys. Humans ambushed, sabotaged, and destroyed the enemy's resources. Small teams used stolen alien weapons against patrols, proving again that clever tactics could overcome superior firepower. Every strike reminded the krill that humanity was not just surviving, they were fighting back with purpose and intelligence. Amid the chaos, human heroism shone. Myra personally led a mission to capture a krill communications hub. The mission required infiltrating a heavily guarded alien base on the edge of a destroyed city. Myra, Liam, and a team of elite soldiers moved silently through rubble, avoiding patrols and security systems. They reached the hub and began hacking the krill network. Just as alarms began to sound, a krill patrol discovered them. A fierce firefight erupted. Myra's team fought with unmatched courage, using alien weapons against their makers. Explosions rocked the base, and yet the humans held their ground. In the end, the hub was secured, giving humans unprecedented insight into krill fleet movements. The captured data revealed something startling. The krill High Command was planning a massive offensive to crush Earth once and for all. Millions of ships were mobilizing and the humans had limited time to prepare. Myra gathered her commanders. "They think they can overwhelm us. They think they can scare us into submission. They are wrong. We have proven that humans do not give up. We will face them and we will survive. And when the time comes, we will strike back with everything we have. Elias worked night and day, analyzing the captured communications, looking for vulnerabilities. Liam upgraded the drones and warships, using every scrap of alien technology they had scavenged. Humanity was a machine of intelligence and courage, adapting faster than the Krill could predict. The human fleet prepared for the next phase, a direct assault on Krill-controlled sectors beyond Earth's orbit. Ships were armed, strategies finalized, and soldiers trained for the ultimate confrontation. Every survivor knew the risks, few would return, and yet none hesitated. They fought for Earth, for the 7 million who had died, and for the future of humanity. As the fleet left Earth's atmosphere, Myra stood on the bridge, staring at the stars. "This is for them," she whispered, thinking of the lost cities, the families, the children who would never see another sunrise. "This is for every human who believed we could survive. We are not done. We will not be broken. And we will make the Krill pay for every life they have taken." The first battles had proven one undeniable truth: humans were not weak. Humans were unpredictable, courageous, and clever. And now, humanity was no longer just defending, it was hunting. In the void of space, the Krill fleet moved closer, confident that they would crush the small human force. They had seen humans flee, scatter, and hide. They had thought Earth an easy target. They were about to learn the price of underestimating the human spirit. Explosions erupted across the first Krill patrols, signaling the beginning of a new phase in the war. Human ships darted through debris and asteroid fields, striking swiftly, vanishing, and striking again. Every engagement, every victory, strengthened the humans' resolve. Myra knew the war was far from over. The Krill High Command was ruthless and intelligent, and losses were inevitable. Yet, humanity had something the Krill could not understand: determination, adaptability, and an unbreakable spirit. The Krill had massacred millions, but they could not crush hope, ingenuity, or courage. And as humanity prepared for the decisive battles ahead, one thing was clear: the Krill would learn, sooner or later, that humans were not just survivors. Humans were warriors. Humans were hunters, and humans would never stop. The stars above Earth, cold and distant, now witnessed the rise of a force that could not be contained. Humanity was ready to take the war to the Krill, and nothing, not even an alien empire, would stand in their way. The human fleet hovered on the edge of the Krill-controlled sector, silent, tense, and ready. Captain Myra Talon stood at the bridge of her flagship, staring at the alien armada before her. Millions of Krill ships, sleek and deadly, glittered like a sea of black stars, each one capable of obliterating a city in seconds. "This is it," Myra whispered. "Everything we have learned, everything we have built, everything we have become, it all comes down to this moment." Dr. Elias Grant, beside her, tapped furiously on his tablet. "Their command network is centralized on that planet," he said, pointing to a massive world beyond the asteroid belt. "If we destroy it, we cripple their entire fleet, but it's heavily defended. We'll need a coordinated strike, no mistakes." Myra nodded. "We fight smart. We fight together, and we win or we die trying." Every human ship, every drone, every fighter had been prepared for this final battle. Months of training, adaptation, and sacrifice had led to this moment. The Krill had massacred millions, thought humans weak, and assumed Earth would never fight back. They were about to discover the truth. The first wave struck. Human drones darted like lightning, jamming Krill communications and disabling shields. Missiles and plasma cannons fired with precision, taking out supply ships and patrol cruisers. The Krill, powerful and experienced, were caught off guard by the coordination and cunning of the humans. Myra led a boarding team in stealth pods aimed at the largest Krill warship. The ship's exterior was armored in alien alloys, but humans had found weak points: small, vulnerable seams in the hull. Explosives planted by Liam's engineers ripped through these points, opening paths for boarding parties. Inside, the fight was brutal. Humans moved with speed, precision, and determination, wielding alien weapons modified for human use. Krill's soldiers were strong and relentless, but they were unprepared for humans who fought with intelligence, adaptability, and fury. Myra faced a Krill commander, a towering alien with armor that shimmered like dark steel. They clashed in the ship's command chamber. Myra dodged and struck with a human-made plasma blade, exploiting a moment of hesitation. The Krill commander fell and the human flag rose over the bridge. Meanwhile, Elias and his team worked to disable the ship's core systems. Sparks flew, alarms blared, but the humans succeeded. The warship erupted in a controlled explosion, sending debris into space but leaving the fleet's main ships intact. The tide of the battle began to turn. Human fighters darted between larger Krill vessels, striking weak points, jamming sensors, and causing confusion. The aliens were powerful, but humans were unpredictable. Every maneuver, every attack, exploited their overconfidence and lack of adaptability. On the Krill homeworld, panic spread. Reports of defeats reached the high command. Their armies, once confident and unstoppable, were being dismantled by a species they had considered weak, fragile, and expendable. The Krill fleet scrambled, but humans anticipated their every move. Intelligence, cunning, and courage guided every strike. Myra received reports from guerrilla teams on planetary surfaces. Humans had infiltrated Krill supply bases, sabotaging weapons and fuel depots. Civilians, long enslaved or oppressed, quietly assisted the humans, inspired by the courage of the resistance. Every strike weakened the Krill and emboldened humanity. The humans' final plan was daring, a coordinated assault on the Krill homeworld's command center. Ships approached in formation, dodging orbital defenses. Drones and fighters struck simultaneously from multiple directions. Humans fought with desperation and precision, knowing that failure was not an option. Myra led the central strike, landing on the Krill capital city with her elite team. The city was massive, dark, and alien, filled with technology humans had never seen. But they moved with purpose. Explosives were set, systems hacked, and human fighters engaged Krill soldiers with unmatched bravery. Elias and Liam coordinated strikes from orbit, keeping Krill reinforcements at bay. Every human on the battlefield had a role, and every role mattered. The Krill, despite their numbers and strength, were overwhelmed by strategy, ingenuity, and relentless determination. The command center loomed ahead. Its defenses were formidable, but Myra and her team pressed forward. Using stolen Krill technology and clever tactics, they bypassed shields, neutralized guards, and reached the heart of the system. Inside, the Krill High Command realized too late that they had underestimated humans. Their communications were cut. Their weapons were sabotaged. Their soldiers were trapped in chaos. Panic spread as humans disabled power grids, launched controlled detonations, and seized control of key systems. With one final strike, the human team destroyed the Krill command core. Explosions rippled through the planet, disabling fleets, communications, and defenses. The Krill, once proud and merciless, were now helpless. Humanity's cunning, courage, and determination had brought them to the brink of extinction. As the smoke cleared, human forces gathered to survey the victory. The cost had been high, many brave souls had fallen, but humanity had triumphed. The Krill, responsible for the massacre of millions, were no more. Their empire lay in ruins, and Earth's survivors stood victorious. Myra stood on the ruins of the Krill command center, looking at the horizon. "We fought for the fallen," she said softly. "We fought for those who could not fight, and we won. Humanity is not just alive, we are strong, united, and free." Doctor Grant approached, exhausted but smiling. "They never saw it coming," he said. Brains, courage, and heart, they underestimated humans at every turn. Liam Chen, wiping soot from his face, nodded, and they will never underestimate us again. On Earth, survivors celebrated quietly but meaningfully. Cities were rebuilt, communities strengthened, and humanity stood taller than ever before. The massacre of 7 million had scarred the planet, but it had also awakened a strength that could not be broken. Humans had faced extinction, adapted, and struck back with brilliance and courage. The galaxy, once silent in the face of Krill domination, began to take notice. Earth had become a symbol of resilience and power. Humans, once seen as fragile and weak, had proven that determination, ingenuity, and unity could overcome even the most powerful enemies. Myra gathered her commanders. This victory is ours, but we must remember why we fought. We are stronger now, but we must remain vigilant. Humanity survived and humanity thrives. Let the galaxy know Earth will not be passive again. Elias looked at the stars, thinking of the future. We have learned much. We have proven ourselves. And now we can build a galaxy where humans are respected, feared, and admired, not for conquest, but for courage, intelligence, and resilience. Children born during the darkest days watched the stars with hope. Survivors rebuilt cities where laughter and life returned. Humanity had been tested in fire and found unbreakable. Myra stood on a balcony overlooking a rebuilt city, the sun rising over the ruins that had once been a graveyard. She felt the wind on her face and smiled. Humanity had faced extinction, fought back with all its heart, and emerged victorious. The Krill, who had massacred millions, were extinct. Earth had struck back, and the galaxy would never forget. As she looked toward the stars, Myra whispered to herself, "We are humans. We endure, we adapt, we fight, and we survive, always." And in the quiet aftermath, humanity celebrated not just survival, but triumph. The ashes of the past had given rise to a force unstoppable. The Krill were gone, but the memory of their brutality would forever remind humans of what they were capable of. Courage, unity, intelligence, and relentless determination had prevailed. Earth had struck back. Humanity had risen from the ashes. And the galaxy would never again underestimate the strength of humans.